o'clock, so we do have a lengthy agenda, so we're going to go ahead and get started and probably step through several of these things fairly expeditiously so that we can hopefully get done at a reasonable time. We appreciate all the work that staff has put into their presentations tonight. So I will officially call this meeting to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. So moving on to item 2, which is the adoption of the agenda. Have board members had a chance to look over the agenda this evening? Is there any discussion? If not, if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll move that we approve the agenda for this evening.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for this evening. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. So moving on to item 3, which is community comments. I'm not seeing anyone who has called in to make a community comment at this time, but I'll go ahead and read our statement for community comments. As a part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allowed by calling the phone number on our website and entering the meeting ID number. Our public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak, and comments will be heard during the 2 community comment periods as listed on the agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise during public comment if appropriate. As with in-person meetings, public comments received in writing or by email will not be read aloud, but will be directed for follow-up where appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Please state your name before speaking. All right, so Scott, could you just take a minute and explain if someone had called in for public comment, how they would go about raising their hand and unmuting themselves?
Sure, if you called in, you can unmute yourself by hitting *6. And if you want to raise your hand, you can do that by hitting *9.
All right, thank you. So if anyone would like to make public comment now, if they could raise their hand, that would be great. If you are here in person, you're also able to raise your hand by using one of the controls at the bottom of your screen. So is there any public comments at this time? And since I'm seeing mostly board and staff, I'm guessing not. All right, there will be a second opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting, right after the superintendent's report. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to reports and recognition. Our first one is item 4.01, which is recognition of Joe Robertson. So Dr. Apostle.
Yes, thank you very much, Sally. Good evening, Joe. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your sincere efforts to bring people together to not only honor Terry Gregg, but to also bring people together to contribute $10,000 to support our school district's effort to honor Terry Gregg, a great educator, in true Shelton fashion. Thank you, Joe, for everything, for your involvement in the process and continuing to involve people to make sure that we did the right thing for Terry Gregg. We appreciate you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And you guys made the decision in 2015 that something like that could be done. And so that opened the door. And in the end, the school board and with your great support and some other people, Katie and others on staff, it got done. And it was deserved. I kept my foot on the pedal, but if Terry didn't have the credentials, it never would have happened. So it was something that should be done, and it got done, and I'm very grateful that it's over with, and I'm now back in retirement.
Okay, Joe, thank you. You're a great community member for sure. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Joe. We appreciate your continued pressure and the fact that you kept this before us, even in the midst of the pandemic. That is definitely something that was well deserved, and your persistence and bulldoggedness is what made this happen. So thank you very much, and thank you too. I mean, the gift just continues to show the amount of support there is for Terry and for your efforts as well. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Joe too. Your efforts at moving this along and bringing it back into a focus at a good time as well. And it was such a beautiful ceremony. I wasn't here for the last school board meeting, and I know some people may have commented on the Terry Gregg, ceremony. It was really beautiful to see all of those, coaches throughout the years gathered there together to honor him, as well as all of the players. It was very special. So, just thank you very much for your gift and for being such an incredible school supporter and community supporter.
Yeah.
Well, if I may add one more thing, a lot of times people get recognized for good deeds, and it's a big deal at that night, and everyone tells them great job, and the night's over with, and it's forgotten about. These banners and the plaques that you guys purchased and put up will be there for decades. So that makes the thing even that much greater in my mind, the honor that you have bestowed on Terry Gregg and his family and his former players and coaches. So thank you again. You guys really did a great job.
Before you, if it's okay, Sally, before you leave, Joe, I just want the board to know that, Joe never hesitated to come up with this donation. I asked him if he could help us out, and he said, no problem, I'll get it done. And that's Joe Robertson. He gets it done. And we greatly appreciate you, Joe.
All right, any other comments? All right, well, thanks for being here tonight, Joe. And again, thank you for your continued support.
And here was my helper all along the way. This is Sandy.
She's cute.
She wants to go have some dinner. Thank you all.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to item 4.02, recognition of the school district's attorney, Lance Andre. Alex, this is you as well.
Thank you very much. Lance, thank you. I know your schedule is extremely busy, and I really appreciate you being here this evening. Lance, thanks for joining us this evening. We want to take the opportunity to thank you for all you do for all of us in the Shelton schools. You constantly exhibit and perform with a high degree of integrity, intellect, humility, and respect for everyone concerned, regardless of the challenges and circumstances presented before you. We value and respect your judgment and are grateful to be associated with an attorney of your caliber. You are truly a credit to your profession. Thank you from all of us for a job well done. We appreciate you, Lance, and we just wanted to let you know that. Now, I know that Brenda and Terry have a couple things they want to mention.
So I would just like to say thank you to Lance also, because he and I have worked more and more over the last few years with each other. He will call me on his phone if he's driving across Washington State, or there are nights we're emailing each other at the same time late at night. He, no matter what time it is, he gets back to you with the answer that you need. So thank you, Lance. I've enjoyed negotiations now with you too. We're spending more and more time together. So
I wanted to say also, Lance, I'm a big fan of Lance. And I came on board, as everyone knows, in August when there was a lot of turmoil in all school districts in our district. And I kept hearing this mantra and I didn't understand it. And the mantra was, what does Lance think? And I kept hearing that. What does Lance think? And Dr. Apostle and Brenda and Marianne and others would say, well, what does Lance think? I said, why do you guys keep saying that? And they said, well, call Lance, you'll find out. Well, calling an attorney, even if you've been in the business a long time, there's kind of a feeling, a little bit of a feeling of intimidation. You better have your question right. And they can be, so I call Lance about a question. And the first thing was that he didn't say, really, Terry, this is your question. This is how you're going to phrase it. This is what you're asking. This is what you're spending school district money on, really? So he didn't do that. So that was good. And then the other thing was, like everyone has said, just such humility. And Lance didn't always tell me what I wanted to hear, but he always told me what I needed to hear. And he has this tremendous ability to make sure that the right decisions are made in a way, like Alex said, with integrity. And that really brings people together. One of the best people I've ever worked with in my long career. And Lance, you're just you're just tremendous at what you do, but even more importantly, you're just the kind of person that every educator or other person would want to work with. So Lance, thank you so much. You've saved my job so many times I can't even begin to tell you. And without you, I would be probably on food stamps somewhere. So thank you, Lance, and we appreciate all your help.
Thank you, Lance.
Well, I'm so humbled. I've never had this experience quite in this way of recognition with a school district client, and I have a lot of them, and it's very touching. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I have been working with this district for many years and hope to work with the district for many more, because it is a very highly valued relationship for me, and getting to know all of you over the years has been very gratifying. So, and Terry, I will especially miss working with you next year, and look forward to hearing how things are going in your life as well. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Lance.
All right. Comments from the board. I know many of us have had the opportunity to work with Lance, as various of us have been in the position of president of the board, and we've always been able to count on you. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate how quick you were on replies, and what an exceptional job you do of explaining things to us, because there's often nuances within the law and changes within the law, and just frankly things that we don't understand. And you've always done given us exceptional advice and have explained things very well. So it is a very valued relationship, and we appreciate all that you do for our district. So.
And I'll chime in. I've always appreciated that from the very get-go. I think you met with us when I first came on the board, and just always have had very solid advice for us as board members in our role, as well as just anything that we've needed that's needed legal attention. So very much appreciate you, and look forward to continuing with you as well too.
And I'll go ahead and add on to that. One of the things that comes to mind that we've worked with Lance a lot was in the policy review, which is still an ongoing thing. Kind of took a break with COVID, but that was a lot of coordination and a lot of good expert advice from Lance as we went through the policies, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you, Lance.
All right. Well, I hope you also saw the chat messages that were posted in chat, Lance. There's other members of staff that have chimed in as well. So thank you, Alex, for bringing that to us. And we'll go ahead and move on to item 4.03. which is maintaining the momentum 2021 and 2022 and beyond. This is sort of, I guess, Alex and I have been calling it a sort of a state of the district address. So go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much, Sally. Well, we've had a lot of great people doing a lot of great things the past few years, and people have really dedicated themselves to doing great work. And I thought it would be important, based on the fact we're getting a new superintendent and it's the end of the year, that we should give the board and hopefully the new superintendent, he mentioned he would try to tune in. If not, we can provide him with, of course, the minutes of this meeting. But I felt it would be important, based on the tremendous energy that's been put forth, to continue the good work of our people. And the best way to do that at this point in time is to give the board and the new superintendent a quick overview of the things that are happening in our district. And I will just mention this too, in my various conversations with Wyatt Jesse, our new superintendent, that, you know, he asked me, Alex, what do you think? How do you think I should go about doing things here? And I said, well, the best thing to do is roll up your sleeves and jump in and support the people and support the work that's going on. And after discussing that for quite some time, he agreed. So I hope this is something that the board will take note of, and that the new superintendent will take advantage of as we move forward. So on that, I'm going to start through the process here, and our Mark Smith and Trevor Leopold are going to talk to us a little bit about the athletics and activities, K-12.
All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
We're good there? All right, good evening, everybody. Mark Smith here, K-8 Athletic Director and Activities in the district. Here we are in our current and future athletics, intramurals, and activities in our K-8 offerings. This year at Oakland Bay Junior High, we were able to have a full schedule of athletics and activities, or mostly athletics. We got some activities in, but this year we were able to do boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, girls volleyball, football, co-ed cross country, co-ed track, co-ed wrestling, cheer, and dance. Some of the activities that we offer at Oakland Bay Junior High are web, robotics, music, knowledge bowl, yearbook, drama club, leadership club, band, rifle, safety, and pep club. And when I talk about a lot of these activities, a lot of times they do a survey with the schools, with the students, to see exactly what the interest level is. So some of these are done certain years, some of them are not done if there's not an interest there. Going on to our K-4 level, next year we're going to have a big influence of intramural program at the K-4 level. We're going to offer track, basketball, soccer, volleyball, all co-ed. Those will be 6-week units there. We'll also have a wrestling clinic. We'll have our Rotary track and field day. Some activities we offer are marimba, choir, chess, jump rope for heart, walkathon, tap dancing, Legos, book club, robotics, leadership, music, instrumental, etc. And then it's exciting to have Oakland, or Olympic Middle School joining the Tri-City Athletic Association, where we will compete against other schools. And those sports will include boys and girls basketball, girls volleyball, boys football, that'll be flag, co-ed track. We will have boys and girls soccer for intramurals, and some of the activities that's going on there at Olympic Middle School will be yearbook, ASB, fitness, random acts of kindness, origami, leadership, and Zumba. You know, obviously we know the benefits of student participation. You know, if you really looked at it, obviously if kids are involved, they're going to do better in their academics. That's number one. But in the world that we live in today, there's that social, mental, and emotional piece that is very, very critical. And when we got kids that have that support and they have that social interaction with other students in different activities and passions that they have in their life, that's really important, I think, today. And so we had 197 students in athletics and activities at Oakland Bay Junior High in 2021. I'm projecting the 257 next year, which is a 30% increase. We had 28 coaches, and hats off to them and all our support staff for all the things that we were able to do this year. It was a challenge, but you know, challenges are a great obstacle to learn perseverance, and we got through that this year. At Olympic Middle School, we had 185 students in athletics and activities. Next year, we project 240, which is another 30% increase. We had 16 coaches there. K4, we have no baseline data this year, but we're projected to 275 students per school at Evergreen, Mountain View, and Bordeaux with 24 coaches. So at that time, this kind of where we're at is a snapshot of where we're at, where we're planning on going, and we're excited and want to thank the board for all their support in the district and the community for offering these and giving our kids the opportunity to have success.
All right, and I would like to just let everybody know that I'm currently at T-Mobile Field because my family surprised me with Mariner tickets tonight because I'm leaving. So I'm still giving my report. So here we go. I'll turn off my monitors so I don't mess up. We spent the last 3 years designing and constructing our athletic facilities here at Shelton High School. Not only will these facilities be a huge benefit for our activities and athletic teams, but also for our academic programs. The mini dome now has a spacious athletic training room with 3 workstations and state-of-the-art equipment. The weight room has 14 lifting platforms and many different auxiliary stations. This gives our athletic teams the ability to train in a safe and productive way, but also gives the opportunity for our students to learn about physiology, kinesiology, and getting a quality education. Our locker rooms are beautiful and now are twice the size. Our remodeled pool allowed us to host the first ever girls swim conference championship and the first ever boys swim district championship, as I said, in school history. Lastly, our stadium field, track, softball, and baseball fields make up one of the best athletic complexes in the entire state. So what are we going to do with these facilities? Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to create a sports medicine program at Shelton High School. We're going to offer athletic training classes, which will lead to student athletic trainers. The current position, we're hoping to move to a full-time CTE position with a stipend, and then use that hourly stipend for another athletic trainer, which will cover other multiple sports and as well as high-risk junior high sports. We'd like to develop a personal training program, which gives the students the ability to gain knowledge about personal training. This gives students a real-life experience when we're working with students and teens and provides them the ability to become certified personal trainer when they turn 18 and leave high school. We also want to develop an officials component to our PE classes. This will allow students to gain a deeper knowledge of the game, allow the district to use students to help officiate our K-4 games, and gives a potential career path to gain extra income in college and beyond. In addition to these great programs, we want Shelton High School to become a hub for tournaments, conference, and district championships. We also want to highlight the high school, the district, and the community. As far as our academic success, our goal was to have 100% of our athletic teams earn an outstanding scholastic award from the WIAA. I just got the data from our winter sports, and of our 23 teams, 22 made the list. There was one team that had a 2.98 GPA and just barely missed it. Over the last few years, we have seen success with our activities as well. The ROTC program won state in a few categories. They were able to get the ROTC program back at the high school for practices. The robotics teams has made some amazing robots and been successful. And this past year, we saw our cybersecurity club make huge gains. We continue to look forward to growing our programs, and we'll be looking to adding esports next year as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to go over a little bit of where CTE is now and where we are going to be next year. First page here is just a little bit of information. FTE at Shelton High School this year was 600.48. Next year, we're anticipating it's going to be 680 plus. FTE in the junior high is 87.4 this year. Next year, it'll be at 109.25 plus. And it takes about 5 students to make up one FTE. Courses offered this year, we have 136 CTE courses that were offered. Next year, we'll have at least 147. The high school budget this year was about 5.5 million. Next year, it's going to bump up to about 6.3 million. The junior high budget was at 800,000, a little over 800,000. Next year, it's going to be right at 903. Teachers, IRCs, and articulations. This year, we had 32 teachers at SHS. Next year, that will bump up to 38.5. Choice had 1 teacher. Next year, they'll have 2.5. Cedar had 3 teachers this year. Next year, they'll bump up to 5. So our total teachers this year were 40. Next year, we'll be at 51 for the CTE program. IRCs, this year we had 15 that we offered. Next year, we will have more than 20 when we get it finalized. Our articulations, we had 32 that we offered this year with various colleges. We're going to bump that up to over 40 next year. And an IRC, for those of you that may not know what an IRC is, they're industry recognized credentials. Pathway to graduation. In 2021, our graduates could have taken advantage of the CTE grad path, and we had 220 of them that could have taken advantage of that. Concentrators, CTE concentrator is a student that has attained 2 CTE credits in a sequenced pathway in high school. The 4-year graduation rate on those students is 95%. 5-year graduation rate is 99%. CTE concentrators that attained post-secondary credits were 98.8%. And CTE concentrators that attained post-secondary credentials or an IRC were 88.2% this year. Next year, our goal is to have 100% of the students attain each one of these, and I do not see there's any reason why we could not do that. And I just want to thank Dr. Apostle for his leadership with the CTE program and really promoting this over his years here at the school district. Thank you.
Tremendous, Don. Great work.
Thank you. So this is our pathway to a K-12 Academy model program. Next year at SHS, you'll see the 5 academies. Those encompass 14 different pathways. In the K-8 theme activity discussions, we'll be expanding junior achievements in-class lessons to all 3 elementary schools, continuing to maintain and strengthen the PEI STEM field experiences. The STEAM days, where students go to Shelton High School and in the future Cedar and Choice, and JA BizTown, those discussions are continuing in August about grade alignment and about activities that we'll be doing at Olympic Middle School. We're also going to be spending the year exploring community field trips and reverse STEM days, where high school students go to Oakland Bay Junior High, and aligning supports in manufacturing, engineering, and technology, computer science, and then on down the line in health sciences. So that involves examining what we already cover and how we can make sure that every student gets the same experience. Next year at Shelton High School, there will be a freshman academy orientation. They have a great plan for the first day of school. There will be an academy welcome activity with community members. We are going to do Bite of Reality twice. We're going to do 2 days for the 9th graders and 2 days for the 10th graders. Led by Peninsula Credit Union is going to help us make that happen. We'll have an event for the grand opening of the Med Academy building. Career Expo will be November 10th. We'll do the academy recruitment activities that we've just been waiting to do prior to registration. We'll do a big signing day activity after registration. We'll be strengthening our guest speakers in classes. We have a new plan with Mr. Kipper at Shelton High School for some group job shadows. We're already working with community partners on that. We are behind the scenes starting to be able to group students by academy. So in the core, in your English class, you might know that your 3rd period is mostly Natural Science Academy students. And we are looking at more staff training and Academies of Nashville visits. They are pending budget. Academies of Nashville starts in-person visits in the spring of 2022. And then we'll be tracking grades and attendance. We want to do some competitions and incentives by academy. We'll be tracking those IRCs by academy and pathway, also the college credit. We'll be tracking the job shadows, student involvement in the community, our community members' donation of time, money, and materials, and we'll be tracking student involvement in CTSOs associated with the pathways and academies, and we'll track freshman involvement in any activity, club, or sport, because we know how important that is to overall success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. And I just want the school board to know, and you probably know this already, that the state of Washington, this is the direction that they want all of our schools to go in terms of academies and developing pathways within those academies. And we have a jump on this particular issue based on tremendous effort and influence by Dina and Don. They're doing tremendous work in this regard, and we'll see the fruits of their labors here shortly. We're already seeing some, but the future is bright as it relates to our school district and this direction. Thank you, Dina.
And thank you, Dr. Apostle, for your support and for your expanded idea to make this a K-12 excitement. So we are very happy to be doing that.
Thank you, Dina.
Greetings, board, Dr. Apostle. Special education from 2021 and beyond, we have some celebrations this year. We had the Inclusionary Practices grant given to us of about $42,000. So Brian Worsbicki at Bordeaux, Stephanie Howard and Ainsley Nix at OBJH, and Kayla Ryan and June Boomers at Shelton High School all took the lead on their Inclusionary Practices professional development for their staff. Those were the 3 buildings identified for the grant from the state of Washington. We have 0 contracted staff members coming to us for 21-22. There were 5 when I started in the district, so we've worked really hard at recruiting and maintaining people who want to stay in Shelton School District. Super awesome. We have 2 amazing staff who retired after a total of 81 years in education. Linda Ferguson from our preschool and Deb Hill, a physical therapist. We have no staff at this time that I know of, certificated staff for special education, leaving to go to any other school districts. This will be the first time I'm not spending the whole summer recruiting teachers and other certificated staff. Big celebration for us. Our Pathways program that developed 2 years ago, kind of in COVID, was a little more difficult to get things going, but we have successfully graduated 4 students this school year, 2 in already paid working positions in our community, and 3 of the 4 are working with adult agencies, one family opting not to do anything yet just because of COVID. We've had an amazing opportunity with COVID to have parents and caregivers as learning partners online. For example, speech therapists doing speech therapy at home with students and parents being able to see that happen. So staff are working on how we will continue to have parents as learning partners in future years. Where we're headed, every student who has an individual education plan or IEP will have an IEP meeting over the next year, not all right now, but over the next year, to decide what the baseline of services or baseline of skills were for the student before COVID, what services they've received, what goals they've obtained, and what recovery services they might need over the next couple of years to try and get back to where we might have been if we didn't have COVID. We are opening Inclusionary Kindergarten this year, one step further than we had last year. Last year we had students in one classroom. Now we're going to have them at each of our elementary schools being served by the resource room and building special ed staff. Inclusionary practices, again, we've had those going at 3 buildings, the professional development happening. We're going to extend that across the district for equity. Collaboration, again, you heard Dina and Don talk about CTE. Our special needs students are going to fit right into those programs and be able to have a career pathway unlike any other before. Very exciting. Special Ed Parent Advisory Council, that we're going to formalize more than we have in the past, recruit parents and community members to be part of that team. There's a parent support group that was created by Gayla Schroeder at Evergreen Elementary School for the entire district. She's expanding that to include guest speakers going into the new year. We're going to continue addressing disproportionality. We've done a good job of that over the last couple of years, but continue it with staff development around English language learners matrix and what skills students should expect to have coming in right now versus a student with a disability. And then parenting classes, I have itinerant staff, specifically Amanda Lawrence, that's taking lead on that to do some parenting classes for our district. So I'm really, really super excited at where we're at right now.
Thank you, Jenny. And if I can just say that, the last 15 months have been very challenging for all of us, especially in the area of special education and doing the very best for our families and our students. And I'm very grateful to Jenny's leadership and to her staff for giving us a relatively soft landing in terms of supporting our special ed students and families. Done a great job, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm here to give a little update about where communications are at as the district and where we are going. So right now we have quite a few communication channels to reach out to our families. Right now we use email, phone calls, text messages. We have our district website as well as websites for all of our schools. We have our electronic community link, which is our newsletter. We also have 3 mailers that go out during the year. We have social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. We've been utilizing surveys more. We have our resources on wheels, which is our new bus, thanks to Ricardo's efforts. We also utilize our radio station, I-501 News. We utilize our newspaper, the Shelton County Journal. We have a lot of community partners who play a big role in helping outreach with our families. And we have our tribal newsletters and papers that we use to get information out, and also word of mouth. As a district, we will use communication methods that are preferred by our English and non-English speaking families. We've also been utilizing surveys to gather more input from our stakeholders when it's appropriate. We've been utilizing our bus more, the row bus, to reach more families, and especially our non-English speaking families, which has been a great opportunity. We've also used our key stakeholders to help spread the word and information out to our families. And over the past couple of years, we've established the Shelton School District and Community Hall of Fame, which is alive and well. And we've also established the facility naming procedures, nomination process, and guidelines, which, as we know, just got to name the basketball court for Terry Gregg. So that is awesome. So where we're heading, we will always continue to work on improving our communications with families. We'll continue working on improving our communication with non-English families through using our bus, resources on wheels, especially after COVID has kind of wrapped up here. And also using our paratechs and working with them to reach more families to speak to them in their native languages. We'll continue cultivating and growing our relationships with community partners. And we'll continue growing our social media following, which is a powerful tool for reaching a lot of people in a lot of places. And we'll continue working on our websites, which is a daily matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And I think there's no question, everybody knows that you've taken the Shelton School District to a different place as far as public relations and communication. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. After the last couple of years where assessment has been pretty severely disrupted, we will be getting back onto a more predictable track with both our state and our district assessments. With the pandemic, there have been a number of changes in state assessment requirements and with what will be happening next year. So next year, we will have both the fall and spring testing window. The fall will be abbreviated and it replaces the spring's testing, whereas spring will be more what we've typically had in the past. The fall window, the biggest need it's going to create for us is we are going to have to accelerate entering student information as far as accommodations and different supports, and also our staff training. And we'll also need to be right on top of the tech needs at each building as we have a better handle on where we're at with Chromebooks and those things. And we'll be getting back on our traditional benchmark testing schedule beginning in the fall, and we'll administer our benchmarks in the winter and spring, which were suspended in part during this last year. As these 2 years have gone by, one of the changes is that for graduation purposes, a couple years ago, testing was really the only graduation pathway. And now there are multiple pathways that involve several different testing options, CTE sequences, and dual credit. And as Don mentioned, this past year, we had 220 seniors who could have used a CTE sequence for their graduation pathway. Many of them had multiple options they could use. So we had 220 who had that in their back pocket. We also are sitting right now with 142 of this last year's juniors and 93 of this past year's sophomores who already have a pathway in place. And so that will not be an obstacle towards their graduation. We will continue to get more efficient in streamlining the process of tracking students and their progress towards graduation. OSPI is providing more tools as we go along. This year, they were not as much help, and so we had to create some things on our own that I think we'll have a little better handle with as we move forward. And one of the nice things with the CTE Pathways is that they're very closely coordinated with our academies. And so in support of our 100% graduation goal, it's going to be virtually impossible for a student to complete an academy program and not have a viable graduation pathway as well, whether that's testing or one of the other options. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for a great job keeping us informed, providing data that we need to continue our work in terms of supporting our students and staff. We just appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to the board, President Carr and Dr. Apostle. Over the course of the last few years, the Shelton School District has worked on creating multi-tiered systems of support at both the district level and within each of our schools. In the summer of 2020, the district put together a subcommittee formed to provide feedback to the district on the social and emotional needs of our students and staff during remote learning. Presently, we have multi-tiered systems of support teams in place at both the district level and within each of our schools. Starting next year, all 8 of our schools will have social and emotional resources ready to use in their buildings. All 8 of our schools and the school district have recently finished up their tiered fidelity inventories, which help us to measure our school's implementation of MTSS. We also recently completed back in May our school climate surveys. As we move forward into next year, we will continue to refine our work around multi-tiered systems of support. Staff will be trained in the new social and emotional resources, and our school and district MTSS teams will take what they've learned from their TFIs and their school climate surveys and update their MTSS action plans.
So moving on to professional development, where we've provided a breadth of professional development opportunities to staff over the years. We've developed a process for requesting professional development, and we have a calendar that everyone is putting that on. And we've used multiple sources for this funding. Where we are currently, PD priorities are school climate safety and instructional practices. K-12 staff has started PD in priority standards, established a district-wide PD calendar, and we've provided opportunities for teachers to choose from a menu of PD classes offered in the secondary schools where teachers were actually teaching those PD classes. Where we're going to continue our professional development for priority standards in K-12. This is a 1 to 3 year process typically, and it will involve equitable grading and changing our report cards. It's a big endeavor. Then we have a PD cadre consisting of representatives from each school. They are the assistant principals. They've come together. This was kind of an organically grown group, and this will ensure alignment and vertical teaming. We're also doing an introduction to our WIDA standards, which are the English Language Development Standards, starting at Evergreen, but we will be doing it across the district. and reviewing all PD requests or requesting through an equity lens. So every single PD activity that we do will be put through that lens of equity.
Over the course of the last few years, the Shelton School District has done work around our instructional programs. This spring, our teachers in grades K through 12 were introduced to the priority standards with the focus of taking those priority standards and identifying them within our instructional program review. As we move forward into the 21-22 school year, our teachers will receive professional development on unpacking those standards to identify the subset of skills needed for each standard. Teachers will use the priority standards to guide their instruction in the classroom and continue to use district adopted curriculum. And as a district, we will continue to focus on equitable grading practices. And of course, we will have to make revisions to our report cards as we move through this work. We launched a new high school in September of 2020, that is Cedar High School. And the goal of Cedar High School is focused on providing an innovative curriculum that leverages hands-on learning in a project-based environment. Cedar will move to the Olympic College Shelton campus in the 21-22 school year, where students will have the opportunity to take college courses in leadership, cybersecurity, human services, and education. We will offer stackable certificate programs where students may earn an industry-recognized certificate. Cedar is going to continue their partnership with New Tech Networks as they move through this new innovation of project-based learning on the OC campus. And classes will utilize a team-based interdisciplinary model.
So we have a 100% distance learning. It is an alternative learning experience at Choice, although it is separate from Choice, it follows under Choice. So currently we're working on grades K through 12, staffing with Shelton instructors, so our own teachers. We will be using the K-12 curriculum for grades K through 5 and Fuel Ed curriculum for grades 6 through 12. Sorry about that. Applications for students are ready to launch. Actually, we've put them out already. An application for the program has already been approved through OSPI, so we're ready to go in the fall. Our next up is summer programming, and we just started it this week. We have 2 days in. Where we are, we have 220 plus students in grades K through 4. We're doing project-based social emotional support and reading and math. And then we have 101 students enrolled for grades 5 through 8. They are also doing project-based social emotional and reading and math. And this number has actually exploded. We have over 220 students now in grades 9 through 12. We're working on reconnecting the students, social emotional support for them, credit recovery and transition support. It is just really, really taken off this year. We are busting at the seams. So very, very proud of them. Where we are going for K through 8, we want to continue that social emotional support. It's been kind of a nice addition, and the teachers are really, starting to make connections with students who have, for whatever reason, had a tougher time this past year. Then we have, we'd like to continue our transition support for incoming kindergarten students and students from our feeder schools. And then 9 through 12, more of the reconnecting. Having the counselors there has just been awesome. Social emotional support, the credit recovery, and then continue that transition support. And that is it for us.
Robert, could you just hold for a minute? I want to recognize the tremendous work of Marianne and Kelly. The last 6 areas, the last 6 reports have been covered by Marianne and Kelly, and that's their work every single day. 2 people overseeing these very important programs. To be quite honest, I'm not sure how they've done it, but they've done it, and they've done it extremely well. Their work ethic is beyond description. And I'm just so proud of them, and I'm hoping, quite frankly, that we can get them some additional support, because if you look at the last 6 areas that they reported on, each one of them is so crucial to everything that we believe in the Shelton School District, especially as it relates to providing the best support for students to graduate and to go beyond. So hats off to Mary Ann and Kelly for a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll take you through the maintenance and operations strategic plan. We'll start with where we've been on the slide you see in front of you. As you can see over on the left-hand side, you can see a picture of what Shelton High School used to look like before all of this started to unfold in 2015. I can remember in 2016, right as we were starting our ICOS building study, which took us through the current condition of all of our facilities, and so it really gave us a good benchmark and place to start from, knowing exactly the condition of where our facilities were at. The next item is we started to analyze and review all aspects of the facilities department, and I worked to increase morale, and we looked at all of the metrics in which we could measure the department, and we worked on improving the response times, our quality of our service, our systems downtime, the overall condition, and the appearance of our facilities. And we were able to do all of that without increasing the budget. And of course, you remember back in February 14th, 2017, with the successful passage of the bond, our Valentine's Day gift from the community. Thank you, everyone in Shelton. And then we had back bond package A, B, and C that ran us through from 2017 into 2019. And then I'm sure you all remember the 2019 district-wide PK-12 reconfiguration. And right behind me, I still have an 1,000-item schedule that we put together, and ran through for that year, which was a major undertaking, and what a successful event that was that everybody participated in. Next slide, I'll take you with where we're at. If my computer will allow me to advance my slide. There we go. And now you see Shelton High School as what it looks like today. And so where we're at right now is we're integrating the facilities and safety departments together. And we've successfully done so, and even we're able to get through this COVID-19 pandemic so far and reopening schools. And we had a very healthy year, all things considered. I mean, we were able to return back over 4,000 students and 700 staff, and it was very successful. We're in the process of completing the school dude service system integration, including upgrading our preventative maintenance plan into an automated ticket generating system. We're also in the process of completing $100 million in construction projects, which includes new buildings, upgrades, and modernization, which enhances our learning environments, bringing the 21st century technology and safety enhancements to all aspects of our campuses, and aiming to improve the overall student experience, pre-K all the way through 12. The Med Academy is currently under construction right now, and new staff parking lots at Shelton High School. As was touched on earlier this evening in the athletic portion, where we've successfully completed and opened lots of upgrades throughout Shelton High School, the athletic complex, the mini dome, high climber gym, the pool. It's just been a baseball and fast pitch field has been an amazing go, which is really impacting all aspects of student life. And then, of course, we have Cedar High School integration in Olympic College campus. And then, and of course, the Bordeaux gym. And then where we're going right now, we're in the process with the board support, the 6 additional portables that will help us to improve K-3 class sizes in our elementary schools, and also Cedar High School and Olympic College. We're beginning the 2022 ICOS building survey update, which will help us to understand the current state of our facilities and all the work that we've done to help us to move into other aspects of the next phases of our strategic plan. The phase 2 of the Med Academy, you'll hear a little bit more tonight in your agenda. we'll begin our 2-year committee-based district facilities master plan, which will include all campus and district assets, like the Nye property, the University House, and how all the district facilities will support academies and other district initiatives into the future. We also are working with David Brown and an outside firm called UMB to understand completely the Washington State clean building standards and how we need to, with the things that we can do to mitigate those requirements and become in compliance over the next few years. And also we have our facility capital and asset management plan, which will help us to identify and prepare for system improvements, multi-year equipment and capital replacements. And that is something that is separate from the facilities master plan. And as we get ready to bring those forward over the next weeks, months, and years, I'll get into the details of all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And I can't say enough, nor can anyone else say enough in terms of our gratitude for the work that you did the last 15 months in respect to safety and security and overseeing maintenance and operation. Just a fantastic job. You stepped up to the plate and you just did a miraculous job. We thank you for everything.
Good evening. I'd like to go through our budget, where we are now and where we're going for next year. I'm pleased to announce that we ended at 4,155.76 FTE, which is above our budget of 4,125 FTE. Shelton School District is one of the few in the state that has the luxury of saying we had more students than we budgeted for this year. So I'm very pleased about that. All right, now my slides aren't moving. Of course, this is not cool. I'm the first one. There it goes. Okay. And then I want to show you our projected fund balance for the end of the year. As you can see, we've been going up and down all year and the normal hits, with April taxes increasing, and then apportionment comes in at 5.5% and 6% here in May and June. And then we get a 12.5% apportionment schedule and then a 10%. So we're projecting we will end the year at approximately $4 million. And then here is where we're going with the 21-22 budget. We are going to use the 4,125 FTE again in our budget. We believe that will hold strong and hopefully come in even higher than we have this year. The projected beginning fund balance for September 1 of 2021 is $4 million. The estimated revenue at this point in time is $68,061,703. The estimated expenditures is $67,090,906, with a projected ending fund balance on August 31st of 2022 of $4,970,797. We've been having a little glitch in the OSPI software. It came out last Monday, and as of today, it is still not working properly. So I'm working behind the scenes inputting, but I can't pull a budget in yet to see what things are changing. So these numbers will be changing as new revenue and expenditures are adjusted. July 10th is the deadline to submit the budget document to the ESD out of the software that's not currently working. So we'll have a challenge there. And then August 10th at the regular school board meeting, we will do a first reading of the 21-22 budget. And then on August 24th, we will do a public hearing for public comment on the 21-22 budget. And then the board will do an adoption at that same board meeting. So next is the bonds. So I want to give credit to Robert Heron for these beautiful slides because I am not a PowerPoint person. So he helped me out one evening when I was doing these. He took pity on me. So I'd like to start with the bonds we issued on Valentine's Day in 2017, which are our famous package A, B, and C. We did improvements at Shelton High School in package A. We built the new 26 classroom addition, the new auxiliary gym. We did renovations on the existing buildings of new windows, new door hardware. Of course, the 21st century classrooms of the new interactive projector systems and the sound systems in all the classrooms. We also did the same similar upgrades in technology at Oakland Bay Junior High, and we built a new vestibule there for security purposes. So package A is coming in right now at $35,230,201.04. Package D, of course, was replacing Mountain View Elementary School. We also added in there and the Early Learning Center remodel. So we got more money for that. And then the Olympic Middle School, we also did a vestibule upgrade and all the new technology in there. So that came in at $27,996,770.61. Package C hit every other building in the district. So we did the new parking lot at MCTC Choice. We did a new roof. We put in new technology there. Evergreen Elementary got all new technology. Bordeaux Elementary got new technology, vestibules, all of that in there. So we hit every school with that. So that was $4,454,162.71. So our total project cost was $67,681,134.36. We did add onto the high school project, thanks to Dr. Apostle, the new parking lot, because we were doing all these beautiful buildings and he said, we need to do the parking lot. So we added that in. So we used our bond proceeds, which was $64,778,906. We took, there were state match funds coming in on the Shelton High School project. So we took out of the state match money, we took about $1.5 million and applied that to package A to cover that new parking lot. And then we had investment earnings that we used for new furniture for the two new high school buildings and the new Mountain View Elementary. And that ended up being about $1.3 million. So as you can see right now, we're balanced with the total project costs and the revenue. So those both balance at the 67 million mark. So then I have to make this thing go here. Here is what we did with our state matching funds. We're getting about $19 million. And as you can see on this sheet, it's showing a little over 18 million because 1.5 was applied to package A. So we have package D, which is D1, D2, and D3. And we have baseball and softball fields that we've redone with turf. They're beautiful. I hope you've all been out there to see those. We're still working on the D2 package, the mini dome remodel, and all the pool modifications. That is a beautiful facility also. And then, of course, the D3, the Shelton High School field and track that I'm personally proud of that because I never thought I would see that happen in Shelton. So I'm excited about that one. So that totals $14,578,334.65. And of course, we did package E that gave Bordeaux a gym so they would be equitable with our other two elementaries. So that costs $4,054,384.34. So the total projects for the state matching funds totaled $18,632,718.99. So the revenue to cover that, of course, is some state matching funds of $17,163,243.65. We had some additional investment earnings of $523,156.87. And then, of course, our non-high capital participation, because the non-high kids come into our high school. So we are allowed to negotiate an agreement with them and they pay money to us, which you'll see on an additional slide that has to be used for capital improvements at Shelton High School because those kids come in there. So right now, these projects are all balanced at the 18 million mark. So then we have our MET, the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology. That's our current project. If you've driven by Shelton High School, you will see that construction going on in the old staff parking lot. This project will be building the new academy building and be moving our staff parking lot. So the total project budget right now is $3,666,669. The revenue, we still have about $360,000 to claim in state match funds. It's just some fine details of going back and pulling some invoices for just small items now. And then we're estimating, because our balance is getting down, only $18,000 investment earnings going to that project. And then we will have the non-high payments that we have received so far of $2,259,275.13 going towards that. And then we have another payment we'll be receiving December 1st that we will be applying to that of $1,068,531.20. As you can see right now, we have more revenue projected than our budget cost is. So we're hoping that that can apply to the next phase, which you'll hear about tonight. And then I wanted to give you a picture of the payments coming in from our non-high districts, which are Pioneer, Hood Canal, and Southside. We have received 3 payments from them so far. We've started June 1st of 2020, and we've received the December 1st and now the June 1st of this year. And then, of course, the December 1st will also partially be applied to the Met. And then we are hoping to have a phase 2 of the Met, which you'll hear about later, that the remaining funds will be contributed to.
Thank you, Brenda. I can express how grateful I am for your oversight of the bond, not just lately, but when it first started, and keeping us in line in terms of the budget and maintaining our general fund at a level that's very respectful concerning everything that we're trying to do in our school district. Tremendous job. And Robert, thank you for assisting Brenda all the way through the bond, of course, and continuing to support our endeavors. Thank you.
All right, in front of you, you'll see our slide related to the art projects that we are working through at Mountain View and at Shelton High School. I serve on a committee with Sally Brownfield, so she's very familiar with a lot of things that we're doing. So the state awarded grants to the Shelton School District for the new Mountain View Elementary School and for the additions at Shelton High School back in 2019. And as a result, we convened a committee for each different project, and which is made up of community members and staff members and so forth, and as well as a board member and myself, and of course Marianne Marshall and the principals for each of the schools. Those committees work together to go through different design ideas and artists, and each selected a different artist and theme for those projects. Each one of them the state actually has a project manager that manages the whole process and works with the committees to make those selections and take us through to the construction. Over at the Mountain View Elementary School, the committee selected a sculpture artist, and at the high school, they selected a muralist. And so the committee, working with the selected artist, selected the front plaza as an area for beautification. And most of you are probably familiar with the big concrete circular seating area with a nice blank canvas waiting for something beautiful to happen there. And so the committee and selected through their artist a camas sculpture. And so there'll be a beautiful camas bloom and stalk in the center of the plaza. And then also there inside the Great Hall, there's of course that nice, beautiful 2-story structure that the artist came up with some of the funds that's left over from the sculpture to take these glass panels that are triangular and attach them to the vertical column. And I don't think this was their intention, but Sally Brownfield pointed out that they resembled fish sticks, that are common, in native imagery and in so many wonderful things. And it just looks so beautiful, what they're going to do. And they're going to have the school mottos be, be courageous, or be safe, be kind. I forget the exact ones. Mary Johnson will be very unhappy with me. I don't remember exactly what it is, but so they will. It's a high quality glass that'll be used to make these fish sticks that go up the columns, and we're really excited about where the design development, and so the construction and installation will happen probably in the summer of next year. And thank you, Mary Johnson, for putting that at the bottom for everyone. And then at Shelton High School, the mural is going to be up on the 3rd floor of the commons of the new building. If you're up there, it's of course a beautiful, well-lit natural space, but there's this really high wall that's just a big white blank canvas. And so it's going to be fantastic that the muralist selected this location. Is going to be a wonderful thing. And so the mural is in the very infancy of its design, but it's going to focus on bringing all the different natural images of Mason County and the people of Mason County, all of our different groups and all of our population, so everyone is represented, as well as also bringing forth, starting to tie in imagery and thoughts of our career pathways too. And so it's an exciting idea, and he's working through, or the artist Daniel Galvez is working through those ideas, and the committee will continue to work with them, and the installation will also, they're identifying for next summer. So it's exciting that we continue to bring this forward, and we can't wait to, in the future, bring to the board, some more finalized images when we get to that point.
Thank you, Robert. And I've mentioned this to you, and I want to mention it publicly, that I'm constantly amazed at your skills and talents, from the arts to health and safety to maintenance and operation. Unbelievable. And you excel in each one of those, and we appreciate it. We're very fortunate to have you on board.
This is the funnest part of my job.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to present where we are in terms of staffing for this next year, because we have such great news. As everyone knows, we have over 300 certificated staff, and when this was written a few days ago, we had about 13 positions left to hire, which was all we had, but we're down to about 8 or 9 right now. And within a week, we should be about 2 or 3. So I would say we're in great shape. We're on schedule, or maybe even a little bit ahead of schedule. We only have one administrative position currently, and that's the Bordeaux principal position, which Mary Ann and Mr. Jesse and others will be working on this next week. And then in terms of our paras and our paratechs, as you recall, this last year, we did a lot of adjustments to try to make sure that we could have as many people working as possible, but it resulted in some new assignments. So I got a call the other day from Linda Arnold, who, as you know, was my predecessor, and now she's going to take my place. I told Dr. Apostle she was on sabbatical for a year, but anyway, she called. She doesn't start work until August, but she called up and it was really nice. She said, I know all these people. If you would like some help with this, I'd be happy to call people and make sure that we have the work with Kelly and Jenny and the principals and make sure we have the right people in the right spots. And of course I said, when can you start? And she came in for several days and done a beautiful job. So, we'll revisit that again on the 1st of August just to make sure, but we're in real good shape across the board. And the only other thing is that people have been talking about all the things that Robert Heron does. Well, the other thing he's doing lately is he's hired a whole bunch of new staff. He was on a roll, doing 12 people in a day. So all that just recently came through. So we're in very, very good shape, and we're feeling great about it. And it feels so secure compared to maybe a year ago when we had so many financial questions and COVID questions we were trying to answer. So we're in great shape, and we're looking forward to just a wonderful year. And we have a lot of wonderful new hires coming in, teachers who principals have already hired. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I can't say enough about Dr. Meisenberg. You accepted the challenge to come to our school district, and you have performed magnificently in all respects. I must say you were a godsend to me based on the fact that Linda left us, and we, it was late in the year, but when I called to see if you were interested in the position, you said, Alex, I'm interested, and thank goodness we worked things out. So you're here with us, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us in your position, Terry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, folks, I'm going to try to wrap things up here. And basically what I'm indicating here, these are some of the things that are involved in maintaining our momentum for 21, 22, and beyond. I think number one, we need to keep in mind our 4 goals: improve academic achievement for all students, increase school quality and student success, ensure every staff member is a 21st century educator. And I could go into each one of those in detail, but we don't have the time to do that. But promote equity in all aspects of the Shelton School District. So those 4 goals, which have been well communicated, and they will be well communicated next year and the years to come, we need to dig deeper into each one of those and become accountable to each one of those very specifically. And that's what's going to drive us to the next item that I will speak to, and that's Graduation Matters Shelton. Those 4 goals, if we do the surgery in relation to each one of those, we will achieve 100% graduation in the Shelton School District. And we saw evidence of that earlier when Don Wielander presented his report. So the vision of our school district, make no mistake, is that it's 100% graduation for every one of our students so that they can go on and do what they need to do in their life. And they do it with confidence and inspiration to get it done. So keep in mind the vision of our school district. I hope it never changes. Everything that we do in the Shelton School District should support that vision. Our PK-12 Academy Pathways, which Don and Dina spoke to this evening, are extremely important because what they do is they provide relevancy for students, for a student and their education. The pathways, for example, that's real world potential for them to get a job and to further their education in a particular pathway. So we need to support PK-12 academies throughout our district, make sure that students get exposed to what that's all about in the elementary and intermediate schools, so that when they get to high school, they're going to know what an academy is all about and how important it is for them to be successful within those pathways and academies. Of course, continuing quality staff evaluation and accountability, very important that we have high standards in terms of those particular issues. That's for everybody, not just teachers or classified staff. That's for administrators. Every one of us needs to be held to a high standard of performance. Equity, develop policy and procedures that support all students and staff. We have work to do there. And we need to develop a very in-depth policy as it relates to equity and communicate that policy and involve that policy in all of our work, in instruction, curriculum, and so on. Of course, the social and mental well-being for students and staff. Folks, we all know we've been through a lot the last 15 months. And I can tell you that next year's going to be a challenge too. It's not going to be easy. And so we need to pay particularly close attention to the social and emotional needs of our students and staff. And it's just like Kelly and Marianne mentioned, we're already dealing with that in many different ways, but we've got to go deeper to make sure that our students and staff know that they're supported in relation to their social and mental well-being. Another area, then we've made progress in this regard, but we need to take a closer look at our salary schedules for all employees. I think that's going to be very important for the district in respect to keeping the very best people in our district and attracting the very best people to work in the Shelton schools. Now, we've made some progress in relation to salaries the last 6 years, but I think that's an area that we need to reflect upon again. We need to take a look at our K-4 student enrollment through a demographic study, and that is going to involve being equitable in terms of program and so on. So that's something that needs to start probably in the fall, so that we can, get a committee of people together to really take a look at the K-4 student enrollment and program issue. Of course, I think Sandy Tarswell mentioned this about policy review. It's very important that we get back to work and review our policies. We started out reviewing those policies, but the pandemic put a damper on all that, especially with the number of changes that were taking place. But I would highly recommend that we start looking at policy immediately in the fall. Professional development and training for our staff. It's very important, but it needs to be highly focused. It needs to have relevancy in relation to student achievement. And of course, it has to be budget sensitive. In other words, if we're going to spend millions of dollars on professional development, there needs to be a correlation with student achievement and improvement of student achievement. So we need to be very careful how we spend our money and the focus of professional development. And right along with that, we need to ensure, of course, that the instructional review that took over a year to do, where we analyze the entire instructional program in our district, we need to make sure that our teachers and principals are teaching the school board curriculum, and while at the same time allowing for teacher innovation and creativity. Not only should we insist that teachers teach the school board approved curriculum, but they need to utilize as a foundation school board approved instructional materials. And that's a responsibility for the entire district, for our principals, our assistant principals, and our teachers. So that's a quick summation of what we need to do to continue the momentum forward in the Shelton schools.
Thank you, Alex and staff. That was very well done, very informative. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just have to say that's an impressive presentation, and it makes me really proud to be part of this school district, even though I had no hand in any of that work. But well done. I think it shows, really just a focus on excellence from the whole district. It shows that we're on this trajectory, and there's a plan behind it. So, it's going to be sustainable. And finally, you guys are busy. I mean, in a time when there's, so much uncertainty, and it's just crazy how much you've been able to accomplish in the last year and a half with on top of all of your requirements tied to COVID. So well done. Very, very impressive. Thank you for taking the time to share that with us.
Thank you, Lynn.
I will echo what Lynn said. I mean, it really is a focus on excellence, and it's amazing to see what all has been built. And just a couple of things too that I want to point out. And I just being at graduation and being around more families, I had so many people, we started with the athletic facilities, and I've had so many parents tell me, because my daughters are not involved in high school sports, so I'm not traveling to these other schools so much like other people were, especially during the pandemic. And then sports opened up. And what I'm hearing from other families is that Shelton has, if not the nicest, but some of the nicest athletic facilities. And they're so proud to have that at our school, and to be able to host things like the swim meets and things like that. So it's just fantastic to hear things like that. I also loved in Jenny's report how, you know, even though this has been such a difficult year, and I see that in everybody's report, that there are also things that they discovered they might want to move forward with. You know, if there were things that were working that you didn't really even know until you were thrown into it because of COVID, and now you have teachers going to people's homes and the benefit that the family is seeing from that therapy. That was something that I picked out in her report that I just thought, you know, is just something that is pretty neat that has happened with all of this. And it's clear that you all work so hard, and I'm just so impressed with all of you and the attitudes that have been kept up during this very bumpy year. The reports were amazing, and I'm very proud to be a part of this as well too. You know, it's just been incredible to watch these things go from an idea stage and a planning process to then being complete. And I truly can't wait to see what happens from what has been built as a foundation and the plans going forward. I'm excited to continue with this myself and see where this goes over the next few years.
Thank you, Gary.
I would echo those other sentiments too. The focus on excellence, especially coming out of the COVID, the lengthy COVID model. It's really good to see and refresh our view of what the future can be and how bright it can be. So thanks to everyone for all of their help in all of this.
Thank you, Sandy.
And I think one of the things I was noticing from some of the reports from Terry and Jenny, and even some of what Robert was saying, I think the level of excellence and positivity and hard work can be really evidenced by the fact that our enrollment stayed up this year, and also by the fact that we've kept quality staff members. The fact that Jenny is not hiring anyone this year is amazing. The fact that we are almost done with hiring, except for maybe some one-offs here, like what Terry was saying, is also incredible. And the fact that Robert had to hire 12 people, but he got amazing staff to do that, it just sort of is evidence of the fact that there are good things happening here, that people want to be here and that people want to stay here. The fact that we have no contractors in the special ed department, that's a huge celebration. That's wonderful. So I think that's a good sign of all of the good things that are happening. People want to be here and continue to work here, even though you're all working so incredibly hard. You've all stuck with us. So, and have smiles on your faces and have done amazing jobs. So thank you. Thank you is actually sort of inadequate, but thank you very much for all of the work that you've done. All right. And thank you too for those reports. Excellent. I know you put a lot of effort into those and a lot of practice sessions, and we got a lot of information in a very short period of time. So thank you for that. All right, Kelly, you're up again. So we're going to look at item 4.04, which is review of the high cap grant.
It went unmute me, sorry. So can you all see my screen? I just need to check. I enjoy talking to y'all, so I don't mind being up again. So this is our yearly review of the high cap grant. When I went to print it to put it in your packet, the system was down, as several of us have mentioned before. So I've decided to do it in a little bit more creative way today and highlight everything that's in there for you. So identification and referral. The district uses the state's definition of highly capable. We always have. Public notices before identification and assessment. So, you know, we always put those out via all kinds of means. The paper, the tribal newsletters, on our website, everywhere. And we do them both in Spanish and in English. We have a specific process to identify students. The referral process permits referrals from teachers, other staff, parents, students, community members. So in other words, anybody can nominate or refer a student. We get written permission to test and to serve students, which is required. We use the COGAT screening for second grade students. So that's a piece of our equity. So every second grade student gets screened. And then the COGAT full battery for all referred students that's our cognitive assessment. We use the ITBS and the state assessments for academic input. So we have two different things going on, their cognitive ability and their academic achievement. And then we use the multidisciplinary committee to review each student referral. So we call together a group and we go through them child by child. The services that we provide in grades K through 8, we differentiate. We have flexible grouping, we cluster students, we use enrichment and independent projects, and have grade level advancement for those students that are like in the top tier there and are ready to be advanced to a new grade. In grades 9 through 12, we offer AP courses, which I am really working with Bruce and June, everybody to expand. I keep trying to get new AP courses as we go along. We have honors courses, grade level advancement, online courses for subject acceleration. For instance, if we have a student who has gone through all of our math classes and needs the next level of math class, which has happened, we contract out for that and use online courses and teachers for that to make sure that we can offer beyond if we need to. And that has really helped us out. You know, it is really difficult to find some teachers in those extremely high levels of math and science. We have Running Start, we have curriculum compacting and content acceleration. The other part that's part of the grant is the goals, monitoring, and evaluation. So we have defined goals for the highly capable program. We keep all of our records of evidence for compliance. We evaluate the program annually and through data collection of AP, lovely tests, district and state assessments, attendance, and program participation. We assure that they're equitable. This is a big deal for us and really a part that we work hard on. We assure that there are equitable identification practices. And the ways that we do that is we use both Spanish and English COGATs. We test during the day instead of doing it during the weekend. Some places do it on the weekends, and that's not an equitable practice. Not all students can get in for that. We review special education documentation to look for indicators of students who might be twice exceptional, and we do have a few of those. And then we meet with our tribal communities and our bilingual family liaisons to get the word out and then ask if there are any students that they would like to nominate. And we use multiple measures. So honestly, that was quick. I'm trying to be speedy for y'all, but those are the qualifications. That's the entire grant. I boiled it down. I took out all the check boxes and just put in the meat of the things that we have to do to be compliant. So I just would like you all to approve that and celebrate that we are moving on. Next year will be a big rollout. I'm going to do it in the fall to make sure that we capture all the students that we weren't able to capture these past 2 years. So that will go on after we have the state assessment and all of our other assessments for students so we can quickly get them into program. I've already asked the elementary folks to cluster the kids who they feel would be high cap so that they're already in those clustered groups of students. Any questions?
Hey, Kelly, I have a question. So my son, Bo, was one of the high cap students in grade school. And I was always curious how it worked beyond grade school because, you know, he tested into or was referred into it or whatever. What I found like in middle school and high school, other than AP classes or, you know, working with the school counselor or principal to like get him into higher level classes, there wasn't really like, they didn't know that he needed more challenging work. You know, they didn't place him in higher classes, kind of, we had to really advocate for that. But it sounds like this program could be utilized for that, where you're identifying, is there a way, I guess, to identify those kids as they hit high school or even kids who maybe blossom late and need more challenge in high school and or, you know, junior high?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lynn, we identify them now through Skyward. We put flags on them so that they know that they are identified already as a high cap student. And then every year in the fall, well, in the spring and the fall, I send the lists up to the schools, and I send those lists to the counselors as well now. I used to just send it to the schools, but the counselors are really the ones that put the kids into the classes. So I've started sending those to the counselors, and then I've been doing a periodic review to see who is in the AP and honors classes, and if there are students that are identified as high cap, why they're not in those classes. Some of them have been student choice. Some of them have been student choice without parent choice. So, you know, we've worked really hard on that, but I continue to try to expand both the classes that we offer and the support that we have for the high cap kids, because some of them are extremely, well, they're all extremely bright, but some of them do not want to engage. They don't want to take the class that's going to push them the hardest. And I think that we do need to give a little bit of a nudge every once in a while. So that's what I've kind of put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen as much as it used to.
Yeah, that sounds great, especially having the counselors have that can help those kids make those decisions. So thank you.
And I think maybe what I might do as well is expand it to the advisors so that the advisors know who their kids are that are high cap, so that when they're helping them actually go through that selection process too, they'll nudge them along. Anything else?
Oh, all right. Thanks, Kelly. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. Item 5, we have minutes and personnel reports and some general fund warrants. Is there any discussion around the consent agenda, or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, consent agenda has passed. So moving on to item 6, discussion and action items. Our first discussion item is 6.01, which is the MET2 construction facility plan. And this is with Ray and Robert and Brenda.
Well, good evening again, President Carr, our wonderful board, and Dr. Apostle. We come to you this evening. I rounded up our group of usual suspects to talk about our next project. And so this evening we're talking about MET Phase 2, or we just affectionately refer to it as just MET 2 in all of our correspondence. So the MET 2 project is to relocate the construction shop to be better aligned with the Med Academy and that type of work, and also because of the new relocation or the location of the Med Academy and the PAC, and in the delivery of materials that both of those buildings were receiving, and the need for the Performing Arts Center to also have outdoor storage and work area as well. We working to make out of the second phase of the Meta area to co-align and with all of our needs that are over there for the CTE program, for the PAC, and for everything. So this evening, we're going to show you what our current ideas are and where we're headed. And we're going to, after we get done presenting our ideas, we would love to hear the feedback from the board, and if we could get authorization to proceed with the design. So first up, I'm going to have Ray Mao with Erickson McGovern Architects show up the current site plan. We also have David Brown joining us, of course, this evening, who works with us with all of our high school construction projects and has been an integral part of all of our planning. And so with that, Mr. Mao, if you could take the board through what we have for them this evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Raymond Mao. I am a principal with Erickson McGovern Architects. I've worked with the Shelton School Districts over a number of years on a number of projects and look forward to continuing that relationship. So the leadership team working on this particular project, actually, this is kind of one of the last renditions of a many different options that we discussed and did a lot of vetting to try to find the best opportunity for the MET2 program. So to give you a little orientation, this is North Shelton Springs Road. So you do have a nice visibility to the public. This building here is the MET1 Academy, currently under construction. This is for future building expansion. We looked at this option, but actually my other co-architect, Robert, selected an alternate location that ended up being relatively successful. So in this area, we're looking at putting a covered work area and enclosed storage area that can be used by the Met Academy. It can be used by the PAC folks doing stage props, and it can also be used by the construction's educational facility, part of Met too. So it was a co-relationship. We're going to design this in a manner that is really aesthetically pleasing. So it's not a play shed, but it ties into the aesthetics of the Phase 1 Met Academy. Here is the location of the Met 2, proposed location of the Met 2 building. It has a direct relationship to the PAC circulation. We have about a 1 foot, 8 inch drop between the 300 building and the PAC building. So we needed to pick a side that we can tie into for a pedestrian circulation. So that's currently the site plan. I guess one more thing, all of this work that you see here is all components of MET1, the project that you're currently building. So you'll get it's going to be a beautiful new parking lot and circular area and new landscaping. So it's going to be a nice product to have. I'll move on to the floor plan. Basically what we wanted to do is achieve a larger space than the construction school has now, and maybe more of a functionally appropriate space. And in our different renditions, we thought that maybe an open construction work area that can be both shared by the juniors, by the seniors, and how the program goes would be the best approach. Pretty simple building. We wanted to make it as cost effective as possible. We have an open overhead access door here, and that's part of that site circulation I was showing to tie in MET1, the PAC, and what Robert mentioned is the delivery of materials that can share all three spaces. So we're trying to be cost effective. We have a vestibule because it's currently required by Washington State Energy Code to have one. So we identified this as the main entrance. An office space, which is just programmed as such. It could be something different as we go further down. And then our minimum required mechanical electrical storage space. We're also looking at putting a potential storage loft above this area to be as efficient as possible on spatial needs. One of the things that was discussed was getting that visibility around the campus of the program that's going to go on here, because it's really going to be busy and active. We looked at putting glazing in the overhead coiling door, glazing throughout areas at an elevation that we can still put workbenches below, but have the students, especially on this side, since they're 2 foot higher than the finished floor, be able to see in and see the activities going on in that program. This crosswalk most likely would be an alternate bid, depending on budgets. And we have a covered area at this landing, which most likely be an alternate bid. But I created this landing in a large storefront area so kids can look in or look out. Granted, the staff will have shades in case they don't want that to happen at certain times. And of course, your required egress is in another location. So it's a pretty simple design, meets the goals of the leadership team we were discussing. We haven't gone into the nuances of equipment, power, safety locations, things that they would want, but that's down the road a little bit. And then I was asked to maybe do a rendering of it. So this is the rendering of the alternate bid potential overhang and the entry facing the PAC building. What we're going to do is we're going to match the existing metal materials and colors of the Phase 1. So it's grouped in as this is a component of this whole program that you're building out over time. Pretty simple elevation, but I mean, that is, like I said, really, really complementary, and we want to get it really similar to the phase 1 Met. This is facing the phase 1 Met building. This is the PAC, and this is a 300 building. They're nice looking boxes right now, but I didn't want to spend a lot of time rendering those up. Currently, we just said Shelton High School construction, but it's really premature to name it anything you want. I think that's going to be a district decision on how that ends up coming to fruition. But I wanted to get some sort of lettering that was very similar to what we have on the phase 1 building. Here's your glass overhead door. And this paving right here this is where your access point is for delivery of materials to phase 1, phase 2, and the Performing Arts Center, because it's back here is where they have their fenced enclosure. Another rendering coming from the opposite side. I kind of took out the 300 building to be able to see the whole perspective. But these are the windows that we had some kind of high visibility, get a lot of daylighting in there. We can utilize that daylighting for work and student, make it kind of a better functional, better feeling space.
And it's beautiful diffused northern light.
Yes, well, it's really northern with the 300 buildings sit right up against it. So
that's right.
And the last elevation is just, we were playing around with this elevation difference in the covered walk, and this is just the backside facing the 300 building, and that's that little glazing that we have somebody stopping at the landing and looking in. So, I mean, this is renderings in the conceptual phase, so we don't have grading, a lot of the accuracy as far as the site, but we wanted to give it a base, architecturally speaking, so you can kind of see what it may look like in your school. So that is the end of my presentation. Like I said, there was a lot of work put together from all of the leadership teams that in multiple meetings that we met, Dr. Apostle, on what is the best approach to move forward. So what we want to provide you is an aesthetically pleasing, very cost-effective phase 2.
And Ray, can I get you to go back to that slide 6 again real quick? And I just wanted to point out for everyone where you see, of course, this walkway and the railing and the overhead canopy that you see there, those would be alternates, bid alternates. And so like we've done in other packages, though if the pricing comes in good on bid day, we would have these additional elements.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, we've been back to the board with these options also. Very quickly, Ray, the building itself. We talked about the space being 3,400 square feet or thereabouts, or even more than that.
Yes.
What we're indicating in the diagram, and maybe it's just, we didn't change it, 3,100 square feet.
Well, the overall building is 3,524 square feet.
That includes the offices and all of that?
Yeah, it includes the offices, and it doesn't include the storage loft above.
Okay.
So actually we are, if you include the storage loft above, we're around 3,500 square foot space. I didn't include it, just, the realism is, and you really don't use a loft for square footage because you're doubling it up on the area.
Yeah.
But again, this was a target. Our target was to exceed 3,000 square feet. So we achieved that, and we can, as the design developer, if that changes due to more needs or more spatial needs or not needing an office or, things like that, we can make those minor adjustments.
And the budget, of course.
The building is 3,524 currently.
Yeah. Now, maybe the board should know a little bit about that covered work area, how many square feet that is?
Yeah, currently our target is a total of 2,400 square feet, with 1,800 square feet being what we call semi-condition. So when you store wood or you store products, and we wanted to have this more for learning and teaching as opposed to having a significant amount of just wasted space for storage.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be appropriate enclosed storage area with access points, maybe on all 3 walls for phase 1, for the PAC, and for Met 2 to access it for their needs. And then we have a 1,600 square foot covered work area. So this is what we call a high bay covered work area. So if construction wants to build a actual full height wall, or they're building stage props, there's a lot of height there to access and to be able to do that. We'll bring in power and lighting and all that into that exterior covered work area.
And then you also see in the hatched area there to the north on the asphalt, there's additional work area that's uncovered as well. So if they have a daily project that they're working on and the weather is good, then they can also be working outdoors.
All within the view of North Springs, Shelton Spring roads.
Yep.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
So the next part of this is I have David Brown that's ready to talk about timeline.
So if I can share my screen, I think I just did. So hopefully everybody can see that I've got a schedule up on my screen here. Everybody see that okay?
Yep.
All right. So what I've got here is a schedule that shows a lot of stuff. And the first thing it shows is some pretty good timing, because as was mentioned earlier in the meeting, Met 1 is under construction right now. And that's fortunate that it's at a stage where it's early enough that we're able to make a few accommodations in the work that's going on at Met 1 to help defray some of the costs that would come along in Met 2, in that we kind of know sort of what Met 2 is going to kind of look like, so we can make some preliminary oh geez, I'm at a loss for words tonight. Yeah, we're making some adjustments, putting a few things in like utility sleeves and just making sure that 2 fits with 1 now that we kind of know what 2 looks like. So what I've got here is a schedule that also is going to reflect what happened also in 1. The timeline for building 2 is very different from the way we built 1. Although it takes about the same kind of timeline, it's got to happen in a very different way. So the way this project goes, it's actually going to go over, probably going to go over a 4 different years worth of time. What I've got here is up on top, I've got the actual schedule. And that right now we're kind of in the middle of 2021. And we actually see this completely ending up into the early part of 2024 at full closeout. But what we're talking about right now is we're talking about doing all of this design process basically by Thanksgiving. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to get into the city early for their permitting process before the end of the year. And the end of the year at the city is going to be really busy. And that gets us into line really early, just like we did for Met 1, and gets us into that permitting. So we're done pretty early in the year. And that gives us time to get funds lined up, get our permits all lined up, and be ready for going to bid early in 2023 to start construction, or to get bidding done early, get those early bids in the air, get the good pricing, and then go through construction basically on the same timeline that we're doing with Met 1 right now, just in 2023 instead of 2021. So we'd be on that same kind of a timeline, open for the second trimester of 2023 on this timeline. And then this orange line right here is just the closeout period, and closeout always takes time, but we'll be operational with the building during that closeout period. So that's just kind of a construction item. So all this information down here is just the detail that I couldn't squeeze into this plan up here on top without making it really messy. So each one of these is just a leader to this particular task that drops down into here and describes what that schedule task is. That's why it looks like there's two schedules here, but there's really only one, and the detail is down in here.
Great, thank you, David. And then next we will talk with Brenda about the funding that we can use for this project.
So to line up with the schedule here, the reason we are doing it a little later is, as I showed you earlier, the payment schedule coming in from our non-high districts, so Canal Pioneer and Southside. We will be using the payments starting in the calendar year 2022 to begin funding this construction project. So like I stated earlier, those agreements state we have to do capital improvements at Shelton High School for those non-high students coming in. So that will be our plan for using the funds, is the MET 2 phase.
So that's our presentation for you this evening. So we're coming to you this evening just asking for approval for the design development phase, so we could continue to work with the architect and consultants to finalizing, working towards design, coordinating with CTE and Dina Alley on the completion of the design and every aspect of where we're taking this. And then we would come back forward in a future time with the construction phase and ask for authorization for that as we start to finalize, the funding and the total budget and all the aspects to going towards a complete project.
All right, thank you. Questions for Robert and team?
Would this building need water or bathrooms?
So,
oh, go ahead, Ray.
So currently, I did a plumbing fixture count based upon the phase one. There's enough restrooms in phase one to compensate for not having restrooms in phase two. And because of their close proximity, we can share the restrooms. The International Building Code allows us to occur, provided that we provide ADA compliant signage directing a person to those bathrooms. So that was, in the efforts to save money, that was what we were looking at. We will be adding, water and drains, because there is a requirement for an emergency eye wash and potentially an eye shower, depending on what you're doing in that particular facility. But at least we need an eye wash because of dust particulates and things like that. So we'll have water there. Maybe we'll size the water that bathrooms could be there in the future. I mean, there's things that we can look at.
And as we finish finalizing the design, as time comes with CTE and Dina, is that we'll probably, if they needed a shop sink and things of that nature, we would address those as well in the design.
We also should probably mention that as part of this project, a parallel project includes repurposing the current shop in 831, which is currently 3,000 plus square feet, into classroom.
Yep, that would be a future phase. We would have to actually complete this project in total and move the construction shop in its place and operating, and then we could come back. So that will be part of when we come back in the future about funding and the construction phases. We'll be talking with you about how to repurpose that, and classrooms, of course, seems like the best needs, at least currently with what's going on in the district.
Other questions? Go ahead, Dr. Apostle.
Well, I worry a little bit. I know we're in the elementary stages, but when you're spending millions of dollars, I think we need to seriously figure out a way to have bathroom facilities in that building. It just seems rather odd if students need to use the facilities, that they would have to go into another building to use those facilities. So I'm hoping that as we get deeper into the design, deeper into the budget, that we can figure out a way to take a look at bathroom facilities on site, rather than for students to move from one building to the other to use bathroom facilities. That's just my take on it. It's all depends, of course, on design and money. but I think it's like the parking lot. You know, we weren't going to put a parking lot, and we spent all these millions at Shelton High School, and we weren't going to touch the parking lot. Well, you can imagine the public seeing a brand new building at Shelton High School and then looking at the parking lot and saying, what were they thinking? So these are moments in time when we need to really be considering to do the job right. And so it's something we'll look at, I'm sure, down the road.
The Met bathrooms, just for perspective, are about 30 feet from that building. So the distance, like for instance, like Chris Lacey's classroom in the A building is actually farther from the bathrooms on his floor than what the construction shop would be from the Met Academy bathrooms. But it would be great if we can do a lot of things to enhance this building. So as we continue to design, Dr. Apostle, we'll definitely keep track of that. And there's probably other needs as well we would love to capture. We may be able to do some of this through more bid alternates like we were talking about with the canopy. So thank you.
And having been a teacher and allowing kids, for example, junior high and high school kids to leave and get out of your sight, and I think Sally can probably support this, keeping them in one place in terms of instruction and oversight would be very important. And if you have kids running in and out, going to the bathroom, it's a hard thing to control. Now, this may sound minuscule in terms of the overall project, but if you've been a teacher and you've tried to control kids during the class period, having those facilities on site would be wonderful. And I'm sure you'll take a look at that.
Once they're outside of that door, they're out of your control.
Right. You never know what's going to happen. So please consider it. I know you will. And thank you.
And I was thinking too, in the event of lockdowns, you know, some of them get to be rather lengthy, and you know, probably be good to have at least one type of facility, you know, one bathroom that they can use.
Yeah, good point.
Great point.
Other questions or discussion? If not, then
I just think that the whole thing, it's always a balance, because that was one of my first questions too, is where are the facilities? But it's always a balance on square footage and what the priorities are. I think I recall the bathroom facilities on the Met building being on the outside of the building and accessible, but then it rains here too. So, but we don't want to necessarily give up a lot of square footage for teaching and learning. So it's a balance, but I appreciate the presentation. It looks like, you know, it's very complete, well thought out, lots of detail for us to look at. So thank you for sharing this with us.
I like the idea of being able to move construction across campus so it's there with the Met Academy. That was something I didn't think we'd be able to do for a number of years down the road yet. So this is exciting to be able to do it sooner rather than later.
The other concern that I looked at when we're talking about this kind of activity, and it's between those two buildings, and then behind that is we're looking at the storage facility, is also it looks like it's locked in more than other areas on the campus, and potentially it could be a higher hazard for accidents. So when I first looked at it, it was just, I questioned the accessibility. I know there's laws that we got to follow, and I know you're looking at every single thing, but for first aid cars, things like that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Sally. And in fact, we met with the PUD on Friday of last week, and how they would access that with their vehicles too, and which are actually larger than the emergency vehicles. I recommend there's some big transformers that are in that area, and they're actually going to get larger. And so it's caused us to rethink a little bit on how we're going to locate some of everything that's in there. And so it will definitely, we'll continue to work through all of that, and with our emergency management partners and everything, because you're right, there's in the performing arts center is actually of course a high occupancy building too, so we got to make sure that we can get to every corner of that, and to whether it's rescue vehicles or firefighting vehicles and so forth. So we're going to take special attention to that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Apostle.
Just very quick here. I'd like to thank our staff, David and Ray. We've been going at a fast rate to come up with where we've ended up this evening. A lot of work, meetings and so on. But I would encourage this group to keep the board informed every step of the way as we move forward, so that the board, truly understands what's taking place in terms of the budget, in terms of the facility itself, so that we can move forward together.
All right, thank you. So we have a recommendation for approval for this. So if someone would like to make a motion, if we're so inclined.
I'll move that we approve the design development phase of the MET 2 construction facility plan.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the MET 2 construction facility plan design phase. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Our construction facility plan design phase has been approved. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 6.02. This is proposed Read 180 as an approved ELA curriculum with Kelly.
I'm glad to be back again. Actually, I am going to have our department chair from the high school, Matt Hirsch, present for you. He's very passionate about this program. I'm sure that his passion will come through during this. And am I still there for everyone?
Yes, you're fine.
Oh, now I think she froze. So are you still there, Kelly? I think we just lost her. So Matt, I think you are up.
All right, let's do it. So I'm Matt Hirsch. If you don't know who I am, I'm the English department chair. So we're going to talk about Read 180. What's next? So let's get into it. What's the plan, man? Got to have your supportive squirrels. You got to do that. So you were supportive as a board and approved to pay for Read 180 and allow us to run that program. And then a mean old virus came through and kind of knocked us off our rails. So we're going to get back into it. And so this is kind of just transparency to show you our process. So first, we're going to do a quick Read 180 recap, because you may not remember what it is. It was a while ago, and we had a few things happen between now and then. We're going to look at our current Read 180 goals. We're going to look at 9th grade and COVID and how Read 180 is going to be a pretty cool tool for that. Our quick request, which is kind of the action item for today. And then a thank you. So let's get to it. Read 180 recap. What is Read 180? It is a reading accelerator. The target is anybody who is 2 grade levels or more behind their current level. So it's just a way to accelerate them, get them caught up a little bit. It is a universal support. So while yes, it is an intervention, it is also a universal support. It can be used for all kids. And actually the grade level reading score might be 1,050 for 9th grade, but this program will take them all the way up to 1,300. So it's very powerful. It's very effective, kind of at all levels. And it is a full program. So it has a textbook, it has software, it has SSR libraries. So as a general idea, that's what we approved. So just to remind you what it is, it has rotations. There's all sorts of various systems. But we don't have to use all of them all at once. We can use pieces as we need for what we would like to do with it. So here's our current goal, kind of what we're putting in front of you. We want to help the roughly 1/3 of students who struggle with reading. We did a reading score 2 years ago, and 1/3 of our incoming 9th graders were 2 grade levels or more behind. 1/3. We didn't have the support to do that at that point. We had, courses for them, and we had a lot of kids in those courses, but we wanted something that was a little more powerful to get them caught up quicker. So we went through the process and we approved Read 180, and this is a very cool tool to do that. And so here's the deal. I've taught Read 180 for 5 years before I moved here. And then I got to teach it for about 12 weeks, maybe before COVID hit. So I've got a lot of experience with it. And I've had lots of success with it. I've seen a lot of kids, a typical year of scores. You don't even know the numbers, but the general range is a typical year of growth would be maybe 75 points on a Lexile score. I saw a lot of kids go up 150 or 175. And so they blossomed because the program is targeted, it is easily accessible for them, and it's not condescending, which reading programs can fall into at the higher level. A lot of times, actually, I've seen a lot of programs. I've been doing this for 16 years now, and I've seen a lot of programs come in to help readers at the high school level, but they're teaching them like they're 3rd graders. And the high school kid sees that, goes, yeah, I'm out. But this program doesn't do that, and it's why we were able to have so much success. The thing that I really appreciate about it is it turned a lot of my kids previously into lifelong readers. These are kids who are like, I hate reading, I hate English. And they go through this program and they walk away going, oh, no, I like reading. I just don't like reading literature. Okay, you don't like Shakespeare? Cool, don't read Shakespeare. That's fine. But go read something. And so this program has helped a lot of readers do that. And so our goal is we want to get them in and out in 2 years. We don't want kids to read 180 for more than 2 years. The program is specifically built so that in one age bracket, they're not there for more than 2 years. So we got the lowest level is the 5th and 6th grade, 2 years. Okay, that's easy because then they move on. 7th and 8th, same deal, 2 years, and then they're out of that building. But the high school, we have 4 years. But the goal is to get them in and out in 2 years, because if they've been going for 2 years and they're still not done yet, there's something else we got to do. Like it's not working the way it needs to. And so that's one of our big goals, is to do that. And as we do this, when I came into the district 4 years ago, just finished up my 4th year, we had a lot of sections of what was called essentials to English. A lot. We had 4 staff members in our English department teaching that. I mean, like almost half our staff was teaching some sort of essentials English, which was 9th grade curriculum, but it's targeting kids who were struggling. Well, as the kids go through all these Read 180 programs in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, by the time to get to us, we won't need as many. So we'll have fewer sections. That opens up more room for more options and electives. So the district outcome here really is that from 4 years from now, like after we get back from COVID here and we're doing the full implementation of Read 180, I'm hoping to see 4 years from now where we have maybe 4 sections of it total, 4 classes, because everybody else has managed to get themselves where they need to be. And we can still do those kids, even if they're 2 grade levels below, we can build it into that supports into the standard English classes. That's my vision. And so that's what I'd love to see happen here. Now, here's the other follow-up here is with COVID happening, we're going to build Read 180 into 9th grade for every standard 9th grade class. Honors kids don't need Read 180 because they're, honors, they're advanced. I actually went through and I looked at all the kids coming in. I couldn't get the data for the feeder schools, but I looked at every kid from OBJH who was scored at advanced on reading, and I made phone calls to parents and said, hey, I noticed your child is not in honors. I just want to throw this out there and say, hey, would you like to be? And I got 10 to 12 phone calls that said, yeah, let's do it. Because I knew where we were going is I want those kids to be able to really push, and I want those kids who are struggling to have the support they need. And all of our kids will have a hole in terms of reading and writing. So I want to make sure I address that pretty quickly. Now, we hear the term learning loss. I think that's a lame term. I think that's a terrible term. Because kids learn time management, self-motivation, creative problem solving, and a whole lot more this year. Like COVID taught them a whole lot of skills that we don't test for. So I hate the idea of learning loss. That just denigrates the kids. So, but I digress. So what I'm going to call it is I'm going to call it learning challenges, right? We're going into COVID. We had COVID. We're coming out of it. We got some learning challenges to overcome. And so here's what we're going to do. I want our kids to have a strong start. They need to start off strong in high school. You've seen the data. If you're on a school board, you're an administrator, you know the data. If they can be successful in ninth grade, they're way more successful down the road. If they struggle in ninth grade, there's a really high likelihood of struggles with graduation and all that other stuff. So I want a really heavy, strong start for them coming in this year. And so we're going to build Read 180 into the ninth grade curriculum for this year only. And then we'll evaluate it throughout to see how much we need to keep and what we need to adjust. But we'll probably for first trimester be pretty heavy Read 180. And then trimester 2, we'll kind of ease it back. So by trimester 3, we're doing essentially standard, what would be our normal curriculum or whatever, which we're actually in the process of redesigning anyway. Tomorrow is one of our meetings for that. So there's a lot of cool things happening in the English department. But here's what we're going to do is as we go through next year, we're going to reevaluate. So after that trimester 1, we'll look and see, do we still need to do it as heavy handed as we are right now? And if we realize that based on our data that we need to make soften it up a little bit, cool, we'll do that. If we're saying it's not enough, we'll push harder. But then we can keep doing this checking. We're going to rely on student experience and data. So we're going to get feedback from students. We'll probably I do this every year in all my classes, is I do a beginning of the year survey and an beginning class survey and an end class survey. So end of trimester 1, we'll do a survey. Like, how's this working for you? How are you feeling? Like, what is this working for you? The other cool part is Read 180 has a lot of data points. Like, we can get a lot of good data to say, are they getting there or are they not? And it's not based on their perceptions. It's based on their actual work. So that's another cool reason that building Read 180 this year into the ninth grade is a pretty awesome plan. So again, end of year, we'll reevaluate and see, do we do the same thing again from here on out? Do we say, you know what, we did enough, let's do pieces and move from there. But that's kind of the big plan for Read 180 being built into ninth grade. Now, the request really that you guys need to make a decision on is Read 180 as ELA curriculum. The reality is Read 180 is ninth grade standards. I guarantee Kelly Neely, if you've ever talked to her about reading ever, she will go into, diatribes about this, which is awesome. She's passionate. But she can get you any sort of files that will show you all that stuff. I don't really want to put a lot of really small text on a screen after the meeting you guys just had to sit through. It was awesome, but it was long. So let's get you out to enjoy your evening. Basically, Read 180 is ninth grade standards that just look different. It's about flexibility. It's about doing things a little bit differently because kids need it. Kids deserve it, right? They need that ability to do what's right for them, and it doesn't need to look the same for every kid. But Read 180 allows that. All right. So we intend to build pieces of it into all our classes in the years ahead, right? Like I texted my former coworker. She and I were the ninth grade gurus at my last district, and I said, "Yeah, we're gonna build Read 180 into ninth grade, I think." She goes, "That's a great idea." And I said, "You're right, it is." We had really good, smart people working on that with me, so it's pretty awesome. Here's what we need or would like. We ask you to approve Read 180 as core rather than alternate core for us at the high school for ELA, because that opens up a lot of possibilities for us to really have this flexibility to do what we want to make sure all our kids are getting the reading support they need. And this isn't the last time we'll have big crises in our schools. We know that. So let's have this flexibility built in so when that next bump hits, we can pick it up for those kids. And maybe it's not the whole school that gets a bump. Maybe it's just subgroups. Well, we can help those subgroups. So that's kind of my request. So with that, thank you for listening. And did anybody have any questions on any of the stuff that I presented?
Any questions for Matt or Kelly? Do you have anything you want to add?
I just want to add that Matt and his whole team of ELA teachers at the high school have just been exceptional and have been really looking at what our kids need now. What moves can we make now so that they don't have to make exceptional moves in the future. I love their passion, and Matt and I spent about 2 hours yesterday digging through all of this and listening to the plans for the future for the English department, and I'm super excited for our students. I really am. This is just one move that we can make for our kids that would be really helpful. So I hope you do approve it.
Go ahead, Alex.
Well, first of all, we're addressing a very important issue. We're hitting it head on. No question, we need that help. But obviously, there's problems in our elementary schools and intermediate schools, because if our kids are entering the 9th grade and they're 2 years deficit in reading, there's a real problem. So what do we talking about in terms of, okay, read 180 once kids get to the high school? What are we doing in the elementary and intermediate schools in relation to the 180 effort?
So we were just really going with all kinds of forward motion in the elementary schools. In fact, OMS teachers were starting to notice a difference in the kids because and I've talked to you about this before, we put what I need when time into their schedule. So everybody was either getting intervention or enrichment. And they were seeing the results of that. And then COVID happened. So it's kind of set us back a little bit. But the middle school and junior high are also doing a what I need time. And they are using lower levels of Read 180. So I really feel like once we get going back again and the pandemic is not with us like it has been, I feel like that momentum will pick back up again. And we'll be seeing the kids move on up into the middle school who have had the 5 years of interventions and enrichments. And then those kids will move on up into the junior high and the junior high into the high school. So that is really where we're at right now. This program is extremely flexible too, that you can use it for both core and intervention. It's computer adaptive, so it will move around quite a bit for what the kids need. But again, it's dealing with grade level standards. So at high school, you're going to see all comprehension. The younger kids may see foundational skills like decoding and things like that. But it really is, I'm very proud of the work that they're doing with it. So the whole system, we have the whole system now. We just need to have a year without interruption. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I'm aware of our efforts in the elementary and intermediate. I'm aware of what we've done. But I guess, and the pandemic has really upset the apple cart a little bit, but we really need to take a look at what's going on at the elementary. What impact have our efforts had at the elementary and at the intermediate level, and coordinate that with what we're trying to do with Read 180 at the high school. And hopefully, you know, if we're doing the job in the elementary and intermediate schools, this is not going to be an issue. The expectation should be that when a student gets to the 9th grade, they should be able to read with comprehension. It's something we really need to take a look at. I'm not saying we haven't, but we need to probably dig deeper than ever before.
I really support or appreciate your support as well. We have facilitators that have really helped move this work along. Shelley Odell at the secondary level has really been part of this movement too. So I think Sally had a question.
I want to thank you for being proactive in this. And we always need to look at our whole system. But if we are always dependent on going from the bottom up, we're always going to lose people. Because we have children coming in and out of our systems all the time, and we don't know how much they have had wherever they come from, how much school they have missed or this or that. And so there's always those kids that, well, too bad that you didn't get it back then. We're pushing ahead now. So I applaud you on your work at the secondary level to make sure that we're looking and supporting each and every one of our students at whatever level they are at.
Thank you.
And I will say thank you very much for the engaging presentation, especially at the end of a very lengthy school board meeting. It was nice from the squirrels to the end of it, and just the way that you talked it through. I appreciate that very much. But just like Sally's saying, I realize we get kids coming in and out all of the time. And that was another conversation that I had at a graduation party with a teacher that is top of my mind too, is I like how you said learning challenges and not learning loss. And one of the challenges that we are also looking at is for our English language learners who were immersed in their language at home because of COVID and not necessarily accelerating because of being able to have the supports that they would have in a face-to-face classroom setting. So, that was something that that was a really good conversation for me to hear. But I do appreciate bringing this to the whole grade level because of the fact that we are, entering this new phase of hopefully post-pandemic. So yeah, I like the way that this program sounds, and it sounds, the more supports we have, the better off I think we're going to be. And if it's not condescending, if it's a program that's engaging for the students, that sounds really great to me.
So Kelly, we're looking at moving this from alternate core to core. This would be just at the high school, or would this also then could be core at OMS and OBJH2 if they chose to build it in as Matt has described at the high school?
I'd love it if you would approve that for use in whatever grade, because then that does give us flexibility and we won't have to come back again if we decide. It just really has been, I don't know, it just was what we needed. And you never know if we might want to move it over to at that level, but it'd be great if you would just approve that.
So I guess my follow-up question is, are we looking at something similar for math?
Oh, Sally.
That may be premature, but I'm just going to throw it out there.
No, but that's next on the agenda.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. We're always looking for new and innovative things that we can work with our kids. So if anybody knows of something really motivational like this program and that can be computer adaptive, send it my way.
All right, other questions or comments? Or are we ready to have a motion?
I have a question. Normally when it's a core curriculum approval, there'd be the instructional material committee, et cetera, et cetera. And because this has kind of come to us in a different route, would we need a committee review, and what is the cost?
They've already reviewed it, Sally. Like, we put it through first, and so that it already went through all this, oh my goodness, I can't even think of their names. The committee that we had, the department or curriculum lead. So they had already approved that. We went full force with that presentation. And when we brought it to you guys the first time, we also put all the materials out and everything that everyone could see. So I don't think that we have to go back through that. There is a cost to it, a yearly cost. Most of it is in the assessment pieces that come with it, and they are really actually very important to the program, as Matt has said. It depends on how much we're using it. So this next year, we probably will be looking at maybe $30,000, which I can cover out of one of my grants.
And so that 30,000 would be for primary use in 9th grade, or?
Oh, that would be the cost, Sally, for everything that we're doing right now, all the way up through 9th and 10th.
Okay, all righty. And then I guess the last thing is, one thing we learned before was just because the software curriculum had a software, it didn't necessarily mean it was an online accessible thing. And I'm assuming since we didn't use this during COVID, this is not an online accessible during a shutdown kind of thing?
Matt, you want to address that?
It is 100% accessible. A kid could go home and do this on their own. But the reason we didn't do it this year as a full program is because the way that this program is supposed to work is it's supposed to be, you have the textbook working with the teacher, which is at grade level, everything. And then the software, they do it on their own within this. It's basically a kid who is struggling with school. When they're at home, they don't have the supports to do the job. And so to implement this across the district, the first time when teachers have never experienced it before during a pandemic was going to be a mess. And so we, at least for me, and I'll take the blame on this one, is I said, I'm not doing it in high school. I'm not going to take my teachers and have them try to figure out a new program with software that does have access in a pandemic. They already had enough going on. So yes, if moving forward though, you're absolutely right, Sandy. It needs to be accessible, and this program is. We actually can set it for hours. Like we can have it set up so it will only be available from this time to this time. So if we want to say, you know what, kiddo, if you need to work from these times, we can set it up for those times. We can also have it be open-ended. Like we as a group can have that conversation and figure out what's best for our kids and set up the timing that way. So it is accessible. I just made the call this year in this situation and said, we're not going to try a new program with teachers not really understanding. I'm the only teacher that's run it before at our level. And I was like, I don't want these other teachers to have to learn it because it's a big learning curve.
So then there'd be professional development available for teachers too. Okay, very good. Thank you.
The beauty of part of the program too, Sandy, that you kind of brought up is the kids get to do both things. They get to work on the computer and they get to have that teacher working with them directly as well. So the kids kind of rotate through this, and it really kind of keeps it fresh for them. So we like it.
Other questions or a motion?
One more question. Is this replacing a software then? Or are we going to have a software that we're not going to be using for ELA? Or is
I missed that first part of your question, Sandy.
Oh, is this replacing a software that we currently have for ELA, or is this?
Well, it's interesting you should ask that, Sandy. We have collections at the high school, and it's up. Like the current contract that we have for the online piece is expired. And if we had to replace that right now, that would be over $100,000. And so this actually is a good move for us right now until we move into the rest of the adoption cycle and get back to where we're adopting a whole new ELA curriculum.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I move that we approve item 6.02.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve item 6.02, moving Read 180 from an alternate curriculum to a core curriculum. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
I'm so excited. Thank you, you guys. Thank you so much. This is going to be a huge difference for our kids.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this to us, and thank you for all of your work on this, Matt. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 7, which is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Sally. Please bear with me for a few minutes. We as a staff and school board have accomplished many great achievements for the Shelton School District and community in the past 6 years. We have developed, as you've heard tonight, we have developed and implemented academies, continue to expand academic programs and student options, which are very important. We've reconfigured our schools. We've reviewed goals and objectives of our entire K-12 instructional program, passed a major bond issue, passed every levy the past 6 years, reconstructed our athletic facilities, built a new elementary school, improved and remodeled all of our schools, developing a new concept high school, Cedar High School on the Olympic College campus, establishing a manufacturing, engineering, technology academy in a new facility on the Shelton High School campus, and moving forward towards another educational program that will hopefully be housed on the Shelton High School campus in another new facility adjacent to the Met Academy. We've also received a major land donation from the Dale and Rose Nye family for future educational development. I feel that based on these efforts and others, we have positioned the Shelton School District in a new and vibrant place. That only after the pandemic subsides will we again appreciate and realize the effort, sacrifice, and hard work the school board, staff, and community have put forth in making the Shelton School District second to none. As I conclude my career, I am content to know that the foundation for continued success has been laid and that the school district is in good hands. Great organizations never have a finish line. We don't. We just keep going, celebrating along the way. I must say, as a community, we should be very proud of our elected school board members and our staff who have poured their heart and soul into making the Shelton schools the very best for all students. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. That will never stop. But we have the capacity and the heart to keep going. Again, I would like to thank the school board for their commitment, courage, and support. Their determination and love for our students and community is beyond reproach, which is further substantiated by the Washington State School Boards Association, who recognized our school board for their efforts as a school board of distinction each of the past 3 years. Thank you to the many community members for your unwavering and continued support of our students in the Shelton schools, especially during the past 15 months. It's been tough, but as our enrollment suggests, our parents, our families stuck with the Shelton School District. And that's something to be proud of, especially when hundreds of districts in the state of Washington did not meet that expectation. I want to recognize Allison Nutt for her patience and understanding as my executive assistant. What a wonderful person and what a wonderful assistant I have had the past 6 years. Without Allison, I would have been in real trouble. I also want to thank my wife, Susan, for always being there for me and never complaining of my long work weeks and late nights. She always knew and understood that I was doing what was important to me. The pandemic will end. The clouds will part, and the Shelton School District will rise to heights never imagined. I really believe that in my heart. Thank you to my cabinet, principals, assistant principals, counselors, teachers, and support staff, and the wonderful people of Shelton. You are what matters, and I know you will continue to make the difference. We will continue to run away from mediocrity. We will continue to run away from mediocrity. We must, for the sake of our students and community. Be strong and continue to reach for the stars. And to our families and students, I want you to know that we share your challenges and that we will continue to work together. Better days are coming. Please stay safe, and students continue more than ever before to concentrate on your education. We are here to support that effort. Finally, I would like to wish our new superintendent, Wyeth Jesse, the very best in continuing to move the Shelton schools to even greater heights. He has the dream team to make this a reality. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Alex. And we'll now move to item 8, which is community comments. I'm not seeing anyone that is called in, but if you would like to make a community comment, you have about 10 seconds to make up your mind and call in. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on then to board member comments. Lynn, you are at the top of my list tonight.
Thank you, Sally. I just want to recognize Dr. Apostle. This is our last meeting with you, and your visionary leadership is exactly what our school district and community needed when you arrived here. You immediately started to work and infused yourself in our community. And I've said it many times that you have been one of the most visible superintendents in my lifetime here in Shelton. And I personally appreciate that. I know our community does. You're extremely skilled at building partnerships and obviously putting people in positions where they can excel. We heard from many of them tonight. You reinstated pride in our schools and our community. You coined the terms graduation matters and Shelton proud, Shelton now. And that led to trust and commitment in our community. It led to buy-in, which led to the successful passing of the bonds that you talked about. And you yourself recognized tonight all those things that the school district has accomplished under your leadership. And I have them written out, but you named them all. So for the sake of time, I'll just say that, tonight's recap was not just a testament of your accomplishments here at Shelton School District, but it's also a description of the legacy that you leave behind. I also want to take this moment and just thank you on behalf of our school district, our students, and our community. And I want to thank you personally because your leadership and mentorship was so meaningful to me during the one of the most rewarding, but also one of the most challenging year and a half of my life. So you're really going to be missed, Dr. Apostle, and just appreciate everything that you have done for our community and the lasting impacts that will fill from that.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Sally Brownfield.
Well, I thank Lynn for the comments you just made. I'm not going to repeat them all. They were all right on target. I guess I would add to it the leadership at the board level and the accessibility to everyone, to the board members, to staff, and to the community. Being accessible, being personable, being genuinely not just concerned, but aware of what's going on, and saying, okay, what do we do about it? and listening. Also being that listener, saying what's happening where and how do we all work together. And to me, that's always the way that we solve, and not just solve problems, but how we improve, is to work together and see all the needs and work together as a team. And so I really thank you for being that team leader. And it is amazing what's happened in the last 6 years. And just the other day, there was somebody else in our community. I don't know if it was a city group or whatever. And those terms that started at the district with Dr. Apostle about Shelton now, Shelton proud, they changed it just a little bit, but it was the same saying. And it's now been really ingrained in our community. We are a proud community. Let's stand up. Let's make it the very best. And so I thank you for that direction. And we will go forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie.
Yes, I too will thank Lynn. You're very well spoken, and you summed up a lot of things. The reports tonight really were incredible, and just an amazing kind of summary of where things have gone. And I still think back personally to, you're the only superintendent I've ever worked with. It's been almost 6 years for me being on the board. And that very first board meeting where we all sat in the district office around the very big conference room privately, and we're trying to make the difficult decision about whether or not we would run a bond. And because the recommendation from the previous superintendent and board was to wait many years. In fact, I want to say 2021, which right now would have been a terrible time to be doing a bond. But hindsight, is. But that was a very emotional moment. But it really spoke to me personally, your leadership and how personally you get involved and how you show your feelings about that at times like that. And you're just a very inspirational leader. And I appreciate all of the things that I have learned. You're very professional. You are so hardworking. Like Lynn said, you're the most visible superintendent that I also have seen within our community. The way that you embedded yourselves in different business groups or community groups, and you met with those people, and you always had time to talk to the disgruntled parent that maybe one of us was, filtering your way, to going to Rotary meetings, or, you were here before I usually woke up in Shelton, and then you stayed, much longer. And I know not everybody knows that, but your work ethic is just amazing. And I wasn't here last week to speak about graduations, but that's also something I will never forget. I thought that it was actually quite beautiful to do all of the graduations on our campuses, and to end with the 3 different Shelton High School ceremonies there on the brand new field. It was a beautiful setting, and to look over and see all of us getting pummeled by rain in the very beginning, to then getting dried out by the sun and the wind the rest of the day. But, to me, it was a metaphor for just this last year that we've gone through, because all of us were up there still so excited to see every last student walk across that stage. We were smiling, none of us left that entire day. And that's, what I feel like that I've just learned through you. And those are lessons that I will take with me. And like Lynn said, all of your legacy will be felt for many years to come here in Shelton. I think you've built something that will continue on and will not be forgotten. So thank you very much for coming to our community and embracing it the way that you did, and just making some very big lasting changes that I'm very excited about. And you've set a foundation for us to move forward with that I'm very excited about too. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Carrie. And I've got to give credit where it's deserved, because the graduation ceremonies were beautiful. But, I had board members, you included Carrie and Lynn and Sally and everybody. You've commented to me, is there any way that we can reach out to satisfy all the parents, the kids, by having, the parade, by having a graduation in person? We work together and we listen to each other. And that's how all that came about, Carrie and Lynn, is that you mentioned that, wouldn't it be nice if we could satisfy the needs of all of our kids, our seniors, and our families? And we did just that, and it worked out beautifully. But that's a testament to a board and a superintendent having open communication and respect for one another and working together to make things better for kids. That's just one example, but we've done that many times. But when you mention the graduations, I have to give credit where it's deserved, and the school board was involved in us pushing a different direction to satisfy our parents and our families and our seniors. So thank you.
Well, and to add to that, I did have several people who went through that ceremony tell me that they really enjoyed it, and that they did recognize that they knew that that was a lot of effort on everyone's part to set all of that up, to be there, all day. And they were very appreciative of the fact that we gave their kids that kind of a graduation. So thank you. It's, this is not lost on those students. And it was so meaningful to hear all of their individual stories and struggles and their vulnerability that they shared throughout this last year. And that's what, to me, being in these meetings and hearing each one of you talk about what you do that impacts those students, and knowing as a parent with kids in this school district that no matter what my child needs or any child needs, that there's somebody here working so hard to help them with whatever supports that they need. And I appreciate all of you. I'm so glad that this year has come to an end, and that, you know, I'm grateful that everyone gets to, you know, hopefully take a break and recharge now that the school year is over. And I do look forward to just continuing on after this. And just again, Dr. Apostle, very grateful for your time spent here. Your time here was much longer than an average superintendent typically spends in a school district, and that your, you know, just your longevity here and your consistent leadership has been what's helped all of these things so much. But I will stop talking now, because I could keep going on and on and on.
Thank you, Terry, very much. And, you know, I since we're talking about graduation, it's a little off target here, but I've got to thank Bruce Kipper and Heather King and her team for doing such a tremendous job, and all the legwork that took place to set everything up. And then Robert, of course, was heavily involved in all of this. In the maintenance and operations department, I mean, it was a real team effort. And I'm that's my last graduation, and I'll never forget it for a number of reasons. You know, it was a great graduation, and it was a great way to end my career as a superintendent. Thank you all.
Sandy, you're up.
And Dr. Apostle, I also want to recognize you as you've been a dedicated and tireless champion for excellence, inspiring students and family and staff to reach for the stars and to always move forward. Thank you for giving so much of yourself. And Susan's been very dedicated too. She has been a strong supporter, a great cheerleader, and
She really has, for sure.
Someone mentioned earlier about graduation matters and Shelton Now, Shelton Proud. That also made me think of 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1, all for Shelton, stand up and holler.
Thank you for remembering.
Another Alexism. Yeah. And so Pat and I just want to wish you and Susan the very best as you transition into retirement, and may you and Susan share many, many blessed years.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
For all you've done.
All right, well, thank you. So I promised Alex that I wouldn't make a fuss, so I'm not going to. We've had a couple conversations. I will say, just to add to what other board members have already said, because they've all said it so well. Thank you too for your friendship and for taking a chance on Shelton. We are changed forever because of you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everybody I work with. And I'm going to keep an eye on Shelton, and I wish you the very best in the future.
All right. So we do not have a need for an executive session. So we will move to item 11, which is adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for hanging with us, and thank you for a really excellent meeting and reports tonight.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Good night.